Okay, first thing we need to check, okay, is that you are able to multiply or divide by powers of 10. Yes, Nick? Yeah, when I feel we're ready. You got your book out, ready to go for this? I have done it. I can give you back in a bit. Pardon? They're on managed back now, yes. Okay, so what I need to know from you, come on Thomas, book open, ready to go. There is something up there for you to write, multiply and divide in decimals. Again, what were we talking about? Well, you guys were talking about this morning about looking like you're willing to learn, ready to go. Okay. So, if I said to you, how do we do something like 3.7 times 1,000? Or how do we do, I tell you what, I'm going to write them down, you just do them to start with, and then I'll ask you how you go about doing them. Okay, so I'm hoping the first one is quite simple for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so your answer would be? 3,700. Now, just to explain it, just in case, right? When this is called 1,000 is a power of 10. Now, because we work in what's called base 10, I've told you that before, haven't I? Remember we did work at the beginning of the year on like base 10, base 4, things like that. The easiest number for us to multiply or divide by, other than 1, is 10. Okay? In fact, any power of 10. So 1,000 could be written as 10 to the power of what? 10 cubed, yeah. So we're multiplying by a power of 10. And that means, I was having a chat with Daniel just a minute ago, and we were saying, right, how do you multiply by powers of 10? Right, and what you do is when you multiply a number by 10, you move all of its digits become 10 times more valuable. So they move up the columns. They move, every column up is another times by 10. So we have to move all these two numbers up 3 columns because it's 10 to the power of 3. Okay? So we had a 3.7 and it moved 1, 2, 3 columns over to make it 3,000. Now that approach helps us because if I do 0.6 times 10 to the power of 2, that's the same as multiplying by 100, but it's actually quite easy to leave it as 10 to the power of 2. Okay? That means every number has to move how many columns? Each number becomes
3.
Nope.
Well,
2, because every time I multiply by 10, I have to move the numbers up 1 column in value. So the 0.6, the 0.6, goes from being in the 1/10 column. Okay, if it moves 2 columns up, it goes from the tenths to the units to the tens column. Okay, and those little ones are helping us. So the 6 goes from the tenths to the 10, and the answer becomes 60. Okay. If you put a 0 in front of it, it's not incorrect. We just don't need it, do we? That's all. So we can kind of get rid of it. All right. Then we've got 13.6 divided by 10 to the power of 4. 10 to the power of 4 is dividing by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. But if I think of it as dividing by 10 to the power of 4, then it means every number moves how many columns? 4. But this time, we're dividing, so all the numbers become 10 times less valuable. So they don't move up the value system, they move down. So it becomes, now I tend to do it like this. So I've got a 1, a 3, a 0.6. And what I tend to do is draw little lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up to you, I'm just telling you this is what I do. So the 1, I'm going to say the 1's pushing all the others, so they all have to maintain their order. So the 1 was there, so it moves 1, 2, 3, 4. So my 1, if I think about the decimal point not moving, my 1 would be 3 decimal places below. So I'm going to go 0, 0, 1, 3, 6. So that would be my answer. All right? Does that make sense? So that's how I worked that out. Yeah? No? Understand? Not understand? Got a question? Understand? Okay, so here's a question then. What does 0.01, what happens if I divide by 0.01? Does it get a lot smaller?
I'm just guessing. Well, it gets 100. It's the same thing.
Supposed to do it, but I changed it to be 10. I didn't know what to do, so
Power negative.
to the power of negative.
Okay,
I forgot.
Emily's trying to explain. Put it away. Alright, so we've got dividing by 0.0. Now what I want to do is ask you, can you rewrite that as a fraction? Because we've been doing some work on fractions.
Wouldn't it be?
1 over 100.
It would. Dividing by 1 over 100. To do that.
So 10 to the power of negative.
Okay, so let me ask you, what do we do if we divide by a fraction?
The other one a fraction?
We could, but actually keep, change, flip if you like. What was the same as dividing by 1 over 100? We've just done this in that little grid. Dividing by 100th is the same thing as multiplying by
4. Oh, wait.
if you want to keep,
Oh, wait.
change, flip, change to times, and then
Oh, 0.02.
100, no? 100 over 1? Do you not remember that from your... Thomas, please, sit up.
Smelly one.
Don't do that. Respect for the class, respect for the room, respect for the lesson. Look like you want to be here. Rather than lounging around and swinging your arms around your desk. Thank you. Okay, so dividing by 100, dividing by 100, you can see from your work on fractions is the same thing as timesing by 100. So instead of dividing by 100, we can dividing by 100, we can times by 100. Now, the other thing I wanted to maybe link to, actually we'll come back to it. So what's the answer then? If it's 0.0104, instead of dividing by 0.01, we times by 100, what do we get? 1.04. Now, I had a comment, I'm not going to mention the name, that someone said, oh, that's going to be a really small answer. If you want to. Think about your work on fractions and dividing by fractions. Why is it not a small answer? Why is it bigger than the number I started with? Because what does division mean you're doing?
It's longer. It's smaller.
It hasn't. It's made it bigger. Remember what we said about fractions? Guys, what did we say about if you divide by a fraction? What is division?
It's moving it back.
It's not just moving it back. Think
It's
about what.
reducing the amount.
No, but it's not. It's increased. Remember what division means. How many of those fit in the other, yeah? So we're asking for how many 0.01s fit in 0.0104. And there's one and a bit. Yeah, makes sense. So it's going to be a bigger answer. Okay, so this one then. So we've got 13.05 times 0.01. What's 0.01 again? Like timesing by 100th. What do you think that's the same as doing from our work with the grid?
1,000.
It's the same as dividing by 100. Okay? Do you notice how it becomes the opposite? If I multiply by the decimal, I have to divide. If I divide by the decimal, I actually multiply by. Okay? Makes sense? So if I'm dividing by 100, what's my answer? 0.1305. Okay. Okay? Now, this last one. Now I'm saying that this last one, you already know how to do it because basically that same thing's on the board already. What do you think?
Negative 0.12.
So it's going to be 12 divided by what? What's 10 to the minus 2?
That's a negative?
It's not a negative 100.
No, 0.2.
Oh, 100.
0.1. Is that a negative right there?
Here?
Yeah.
Yes. That's a 10 to the power of negative 2. But it doesn't give you a negative 100 because that would... It's what Nick was saying, which is the negative actually means it's like doing 1 over 10 squared, which is the same as dividing by 1 over 100. Okay? Which is the same thing as, good, what was multiplying by 100. So my answer is?
Negative?
No negatives.
1,200. Huh?
1,200.
Oh, it's
You know, we got the same thing that means it's
right.
right. Two people got the same one.
Okay?
Maybe two erase it.
So, if you didn't get those, hopefully you will do next time. Okay? Right, I'm going to give you some more then. So, what we can do, without going through the answers, dividing by 10 to the minus 3, we could rewrite it if we get to know
Times by 1,000.
times by 10 to the 3. So the minus bit, if we take that from our notes before, okay, we can times, so that's the same as timesing by 1,000. So that should be 1,400. This one is the same as 0.8 divided by 10 squared, which is divided by 100. So that should be 0.008. This one is just as it is, 1.3 divided by 1,000. So that would be 0.0, that's divided 10, 100, 0.0013. And dividing by 0.001 is the same thing as timesing by 1,000. Okay, it gives me
0.0.
Can we zero test?
No.
80.
80.
Okay? Okay, I'll have to give you your test scores. Well, it'll be on Manage back anyway, but I'll have to show you next time.